Fabulous. Thank you very much, Allison, and I appreciate you being the moderator today. Folks, this is one of my absolute favorite times, and the reason for it is I'm able to showcase, to highlight, and to really get some feedback from a client in terms of some of the reasons for his success. And while Josh Roy is doing a tremendous amount of things as a business owner to elevate his productivity and his performance, today the real reason that we're having this call is to talk about human capital, people, and the importance of hiring the right people. But before we do, let me just give you a little background on Josh. Josh is in the market of Wichita, Kansas. He's been in business for the last 16 years. And he was ranked by the Wall Street Journal Real Trends number 218. If you're not familiar with the Wall Street Journal ranking, that is the top 1% of residential real estate folks in the United States. So, Josh, thank you for your time today and for coming as a special guest to be with us.
Hey, well, thank you for having me. I am very excited, and hopefully I can bring a lot of value to everybody.
Excellent. Well, speaking of value, for those of you that are watching live, if you have any questions of Josh or of myself, please feel free to ask them, and Allison will definitely interject those throughout this session. Okay, so Josh, why don't you just kind of give us a little bit of a breakdown? Everybody's really interested in metrics, in performance, right? KPIs. How have you been doing? I know you mentioned to me last year you added $15 million to your top line revenue, but would you mind just kind of explaining some of those metrics and some of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
Sure. Right now for 2015, we've actually made more money than we did of all of 2014. So for us, it's just about how do we continue to grow the team, bring in more revenue for the agents, the company, and make sure that every year we're growing. And since we've started working with you, it's made it a lot easier for us to hire and keep track of who we're talking to, and we actually have a process. So.
Okay, well, fabulous. We'll talk a little bit more about that process later, but you had indicated to me that you actually had your best Q1 that you've ever had in the history of your 16 years, and an interesting kind of piece to that puzzle is that you and your partner were away for 2 weeks during that first quarter.
Sure.
Do you mind commenting a little bit on that?
Well, what we found is that whenever you have the right people in place, it makes it a lot easier whenever you are out of town. The business continues to run as if you were here. So yeah, we've attended a lot more training in 2015. We've been able to go on more vacations and trips and spend more time out of the office than we ever have, and still had our best quarter ever. Now the cool thing is that the third quarter is now going to eclipse the first quarter of 2015, and again, we've been taking more time off on vacation and more training and growth, so that way we can come back and really contribute more to the team as an owner and not working in the business all the time.
That's absolutely fantastic, and perhaps one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things for me intrinsically is when I'm able to add that type of value to your quality of life, because ultimately you as a business owner, the reason why you went into business in the first place is to have some financial freedom and some time freedom. But most of the time, I find that people are caught in the tyranny of the urgent because they don't have that great bench strength, that they're having to spend more time in the office, more time on activities perhaps that aren't as high revenue generating, because ultimately the people can't be trusted to do things the right way the first time.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. We've got people now in our organization that allow us the freedom to continue to train and grow and come back and hire more talent and really think on a bigger scale, because we have a really deep bench now that we can constantly work through at our pace, and just like you said, not be too urgent and make sometimes the wrong hire.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Your marketing, your infrastructure, your processes, procedure, your promotion, your lead gen, all of that pretty much has stayed constant, I believe, over time.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute to this phenomenal growth that you've had over the last year and a half? In other words, what's changed? What's been the big impetus for this big lift? Because you've been in business 16 years, and now, bam, you're looking to crack the 100 mark in terms of the Wall Street Journal this year.
Sure, sure. To be honest, it's whenever we started working with you and your company and having an easier process to really screen through candidates, I find that the real estate industry is an industry that everybody wants to be in or go put their toes in. And for us, being a full-service brokerage company and really wanting to grow, we want to work with what I consider to be the best of the best. So working with you has allowed me to hire 2 people into our organization that are just absolute rock stars that have made a big impact in the culture, the bottom line, the growth, the leads, and they're both people who I could see taking over our organization whenever the time comes. So obviously, I can sit here and say that we call more, all that. We've also hired a couple of ISAs that you told us to hire, and one of them right now is just knocking it out of the park. And we may have passed over him because we had so many candidates, and it's so time-consuming looking at resumes and screening people that it becomes very frustrating, and it's not something that you get an impact on right away, where I can go out there, I can go put a home up for sale, I know what I'm going to bring in, I know what the income is.
Right.
And that's a very tangible item for me, and that's easy for me to know. If I go put a $200,000 property up for sale, I'm going to get X.
Sure.
Interviewing, it's a lot harder to quantify that and really know.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, before we kind of delve into some of the stories that you have and some of the things that you've learned, why don't you talk to us for a moment about the rationale, reason, based on your experience as to why you had almost completely given up as it relates to hiring? Because almost every day I have conversations with people like yourself who are in that exact same frame of mind, because their experience pretty much has been a very similar to yours, which is they know that, as Gary Keller says, they're 3 great hires away from retirement, from being able to retire. But based on how difficult it is, right, they basically throw their hands up in the air and say, well, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It's not worth the investment of time and effort.
Sure.
So why don't you explain a little bit about your mindset before we kind of met, and kind of based on your experience?
How honest do you want me to be, John?
Totally. The more transparent, the better.
Okay. My mindset was that I really didn't like to recruit. To be honest, I hated it. It wasn't something that I found very pleasurable. I didn't want to do it. And I'd pretty much thrown in the towel as far as hiring and bringing in what I felt we could attract talent, because you go through so many candidates, and we're in a sales industry, so these people come in here and they sell you on why you should hire them.
Right.
And so it just became very frustrating. I had attended Recruit Select one time, thought I had it all figured out, thought I was an expert. And I mean, if you do pay attention to Keller Williams or Gary Keller, well, they tell you to take it 12, 15, 20 times. Me, well, being the expert I thought I was, said, no, I can take it once. I have this. And that wasn't the case.
Right.
We would get agents in here. We had more leads than we could handle, so we would hire a warm body who come in, talk about expectations. We thought we had the expectations really dialed in, and then 6 months afterwards, the agents were getting part-time jobs or were quitting, and I could never really understand why. I mean, we gave them leads. We gave them what I thought was great coaching, and they still wouldn't really succeed. And it wasn't until I started talking to you that I understood that the people who are really talented have a certain code in them.
Right.
And I didn't really understand how to crack that code.
Sure. So, in fact, today, how it's different from how you used to do this prior, you only actually interview people that have what I call the sales DNA or the administrative DNA, which means these people basically are wired to perform at a high level consistently in their specific role because of their behavioral style, the unique combination of their motivations, what it is that they get satisfied and fulfilled from, and most important of all, those things that they naturally or innately do well, their strength, their innate talents. Well,
Yep.
why don't you walk us through one of your stories of one of the bullet points on our session today is how you were able to basically double the performance of one of your ISAs overnight. Why don't you just let everybody know 2 people that applied, what my feedback was on those 2 specific people,
Okay.
and kind of that whole process, because I've done several calls already just on the ISA model alone. And it's something that's generating a tremendous amount of value for a small percentage of the population, and others are trying to figure out to crack that code because it's such a key element of the business.
Well, it's interesting you said whenever you began that the only people that I interview are people that you recommend. So to piggyback on what you were talking about, we had hired 2 ISAs. They both came in. One of them, I've got the report right here, you said exceptional talent, call today. We called him, set up an interview, hired him on the spot. The other one, you told me to pass on. We brought him in. He did a great job selling me on what he offered, so we thought we'd create somewhat of a competition. We gave them each 100 leads to call. They both came back with 3, 4, 5 appointments each, and so I thought, well, why don't we keep them each? So we ended up offering them both a position as an inside sales agent on the team. This was about 8 months ago. About 3 months in, I started to kind of pick up on one of them. The guy that you told us to pass on was not setting what I felt was quality appointments. And then the guy who you said was pure talent, he was really doing what I felt was average appointments. So to go from the end, or from the beginning to the end, we ended up firing the one that you told us to pass on. But the cool thing is that whenever we got him out of here, the ISA that you said was exceptional talent, who we did hire purely because of what you said, he's now tripled his production without the other ISA here. So the cool thing was we were paying 2 ISAs to do one job.
Right.
And now we're paying one to do one job, and he's outperforming what they both were able to without him here.
Gotcha.
Because he is such a talent. But I didn't trust what you said. I brought him in. He did a good sales job, and we gave him the position. So trust the process and trust in what you say.
Excellent. A lot of key learning points in that story. Let me ask you to be, again, brutally transparent. Why did you decide to go forward with a guy that I said to pass on? Talk about how difficult it is to get a great ISA.
We went forward with them because I felt that one person wasn't able to produce the results that our one ISA is, and I felt that we had to have 2.
Right.
And so instead of me being patient and trusting the process and taking your advice, we jumped the gun, and we just didn't trust the process. So to find one good ISA, I mean, if you look right here, we've gone through, I'd say probably 20, 30, 40 people on here.
Right.
And well, that's only the people that we actually send the test out to that actually fill it out. There's
Right.
probably another 50, 60, 80 people that aren't even filling out the test, but they apply
Sure.
because they see the ad.
Right.
So what it's allowed us to really be focused on is only talking to the best of the best, the people who are going to come into your organization and set 22 appointments a week and only working 40 hours.
Right. Now, just for the benefit of everybody watching, normally within about a month time frame, that's typically the longest that it takes to hire somebody from the time that we start the process to the time that we finish. But the ISA is perhaps one of the most difficult and challenging roles, and a role that's also difficult to keep long term. So, as Josh is saying, it does require patience. You have to follow the system. I would much rather wait for twice the amount of time and be patient instead of compromising on someone that doesn't really have, maybe they only have 50% of the sales DNA. Well, what I know over time, based on statistics and research, the more we compromise on a person's profiles, the more their performance is also going to be compromised. Now, what's very interesting, Josh, that you mentioned is once you had a much lower performer out of the environment with a guy who's a rock star, his results just took off. They went crazy because he doesn't have the barrier and the hindrance and the negativity and this guy pulling him down.
Absolutely.
So, as you look to create a company of excellence, of performance, I've actually helped other peers of yours take some of their current people out of the organization because they're too much of a cancer. They're too much of a negative. Not only are they not performing at a high level, but they actually pull other people down as well. So again, it's very difficult to quantify in dollars and time the cost of a wrong hire, but it's massive. And then we haven't even talked about your image, your brand, your reputation, your credibility within the community in terms of what they're saying, because it's not really the most effective way to communicate who you are, what you offer, etc. Okay, all right. Well, that's terrific. When I visited you on site, your partner actually mentioned to me that one of the hires that you made, which was an administrative assistant, was worth the entire investment that you have paid me. Would you mind explaining a little bit about perhaps what you had experienced prior with your previous administrative assistant, and then what the difference is with this new person?
Sure. We'd had an administrative assistant for 4 years. Great friend, great employee. Some things happened, not with us anymore. We ended up looking for a new person, and it took me 8 months to even get the courage up to start looking again to hire, because whenever things go south, you don't want to get back in there and start interviewing again and hiring, because you're afraid that you're going to make the wrong decision. So once we started to interview and we were out there, we got a hold of, her name is Ashley Haynes, and she came to us from a friend of mine by him posting on, I think it was maybe Facebook. We got her resume, called her up, and the very first thing that she told me was, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't apply at your company. I'm not interested." And I said, "Well, okay." I said, "Well, we have an opportunity. Would you be interested in taking just a quick test to see if it'll be a good match for you and us?" And I said, "Hey, you happen to be a friend of a friend." And so I think reluctantly she said yes. We got your recommendation, which was hire, or I think you said maybe fast track. So we called her up, brought her in, went through the whole process, recruit, select, and it was the first time in my hiring career, I guess, that it all worked out as it should have.
Right.
And it really opened my eyes up to, okay, wow, if you trust the process and you have somebody who can make sure that you're looking at the best of the best, you'll find congruency whenever you're talking to these candidates, and you'll be able to make a all-star, just a great hire that'll change your company forever.
Right.
And so that's what happened with her. I mean, we took her through the whole process, and um, we offered her the position. She took it. And in 16 years of hiring agents, employees, ISAs, whoever, I've never once been compelled to give an employee a raise.
Mm.
And I tell you that because I guess I haven't ever, I mean, I've been wowed, right?
Right.
And I've had great employees, but not like Ashley. I mean, it was great, and we just recently offered her a raise because she is so talented that I know that she can change the entire complexity of an organization.
Mm. Out of curiosity, what was her response when you gave her that raise? It was a pretty substantial raise.
Yeah, she was pretty shocked. She was very appreciative. I don't think she was expecting it. So it was something that I think was the right move and will keep her growing and keep her progressing.
Well, I just want to stop and pause here for a minute and just give a lot of praise and kudos to your leadership style for doing this. She had not yet had her first year anniversary. I think it was actually about 8 months in on the job. And you just, again, arbitrarily decided, based on her incredible performance and her contribution, hey, this is somebody I need to recognize and provide more compensation to. And interestingly, the vast majority of employees are always proactively asking us for more money, right? More of a raise. And so, but this is actually the ideal scenario where you feel compelled to do it and to do it early because the person is contributing. It's not a doubt as to whether or not they're contributing, their worth.
Absolutely.
Now, interestingly,
yeah.
You had just mentioned to me that you have outsourced your interviewing. You no longer really do that anymore, again, because of your time and the value of your time. But you now have Ashley doing the interviewing. In fact, talk to us about what's happening right now.
We've actually got a candidate in our office that she's interviewing right now. She's interviewing them. I haven't talked to this person. She's offering him a job on our team as a buyer's agent. She offered a job to a lead coordinator yesterday. And again, she's went through the whole process. She's been working hand in hand with you on who we need to be talking to, who we need to be setting interviews up with. And we've got an interview in the office right now to hire for a buyer's agent. And I mean, if you pay attention to MREA or Keller Williams, they tell you that you're 3 hires away. Well, I've got one of those hires because she can actually bring in other people into the company that are going to make an impact. But they're going to be rock stars, and I don't have to get in there because my natural tendency is to like everybody. I want to make everybody work. I want to make them fit because I want to really help people.
Right.
And sometimes the challenge is that you can't help people.
Gotcha. So it's really around your self-awareness, knowing that you're a real high, you're personable, amiable, you always think the best of people, and you want things to. So you pretty much give everybody a try because that's how good-natured you are.
Well, and whenever you have a whole bunch of people to call, you think having somebody is probably better than nothing.
Right. Okay. So you've actually hired 2 new people just in the last week or last few days, really.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Excellent. Tell me a little bit, I guess, about the number of people that you've hired thus far and how many people have made it.
Okay. In the last year of working with you, we've hired 10 people, either 10 or 12, and I'm not exactly sure on
Okay.
that. And 3 of them have made it.
Okay.
So it's not a fail-safe. I don't think hiring is really ever a fail-safe where you can get it right every time.
Right.
And yet we've gotten it right more times than we have in the past.
Gotcha.
And it's actually encouraged me to really get back out there, start talking to people, sharing my vision for the company, and seeing how we can find people that can actually fit in. I am talking to a candidate on Thursday who exceptional talent, would change the complexity of the company, organization, and I mean, it's because of you and the process that I can trust that, and now I have confidence in hiring again.
Right. Okay. So to be completely transparent, I mean the success rate or failure rate, whichever you want to call it, is about 95% turnover, right, in the industry. It's
Probably, yeah.
exceptionally high. So
Yep.
really, I have probably quadrupled or about an 80% kind of success rate compared to what you're used to. So I think everybody needs to know that there's no silver bullet. There's nothing out there that's going to give you 100%. But you've heard Josh say that he has 3 absolute rock stars. He's just hired 2 more that are absolutely solid, and 1 more that he's going to be looking at a little bit later this week. Talk to me about your listing agent, because he definitely falls into that category of rock star, and he perhaps would be one of the most unlikely for somebody to select. If you're just looking at things from the outside.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely, yeah. He actually came to us from a Craigslist ad.
Right.
To be honest, I didn't really have a lot of trust or faith in Craigslist as a place to find talent. Again, because it's so easy to send people through this process, it's so easy to see who they are from a broad scale. We brought him in, talked to him, offered him a job. He told me that he wanted to work with home sellers. At the time, honestly, I didn't feel like we had that position available. Reluctantly, though, I agreed and brought him on because I could see the talent that he had. And in a year, he's the top salesperson on the team.
Wow. So in 1 year, with no industry experience, he's actually performing at a level that's higher than your top person that's been there for 5 years.
Well, they are right even. I mean, 1 month he's ahead, the other month the other guy's ahead.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So
he's allowed me to scale back my production so that way I can get more involved in recruiting and training and coaching these agents, right, so that way we can help them hit their goals.
Fabulous. Well, isn't that really the ultimate goal that pretty much everybody wants, to stop doing what they're doing day in, day out, and to be able to have the luxury of being able to take a step back and to do some things that are contributing to the development and growth of the company and of their people?
Well, I mean, I know that's why I own a business. I mean, I feel like I can bring more value, contribution to agents by working with them.
Gotcha. How would you describe the value that this has provided to you personally on a day-to-day business from your time? How has it freed you up? How is it different today than it was before you had these high-impact players that you can trust implicitly?
Oh boy, time is hard to quantify because last year I think I sold 130 homes, and that was me pounding it every day. I mean, that was me hitting the pavements, working hard, putting in the time. That was me making my own calls. So we didn't have an ISA. We was setting our own appointments, and we was going out on the appointments. And now it's allowed me to be home earlier. to be able to spend more time with my kids and give that opportunity, though, to other people on the team.
Right.
So the time factor really has been huge. I've actually, this year I was telling Ashley that I've been able to attend a training education and not feel like something would fall apart back at the office. Not have to take a call and know that the business is still going to run.
Right.
So they just taught me at a class that I need to be 2 to 3 hires away from getting back that job.
Right.
I actually feel like I am now.
Awesome. That's absolutely incredible.
So
Terrific. Let me ask you this. Because you had such apathy, indifference, we're kind of jaded with all the things that pretty much every business owner goes through as it relates to the interviewing process, meaning everybody's putting their best foot forward, everybody's kind of giving you similar answers.
sure.
90% of what you need to see, which is hidden to the naked eye, right?
Absolutely.
You can't access in an interview, which is why the psychometric tools that we use are so powerful, because it gives you rich insight into their ability to perform. I don't have any idea. In fact, we never really even talked about this. Where did you find out about me? Was it a key event that I spoke at? Was it a colleague that referred you? How and why did you make the decision to invest in something, given your experience had been so atrocious like everybody else?
I had actually first heard about you through Matt Wagner and his group.
Okay.
I saw you on, I think it was maybe one of the agents had put a post out there on our private Facebook.
Okay.
And then I saw a friend of mine, Kevin Yoder.
Mm-hmm.
He had commented on that, and he said that he had hired you, and it totally changed everything. So I picked up the phone, I called him, and we talked for about a half hour, and he just raved about the simplicity now of getting candidates in, the ads that you create. I mean, half of the challenge for us was, how do we write a compelling ad that's going to impact somebody in a way that they're going to go fill out an application online.
Gotcha.
And so I talked with him, and he raved, and I mean, he told me it was easy, the process. I called you up, and really the rest is history.
So give everybody an idea, again, a question I've not asked you, how much time have you and I actually spent on the phone or via email in a year and a half?
Via email and on the phone, more than I would have expected.
Okay.
And I mean that in a good way. We get the reports from you pretty quickly. You're very accessible. We get everything that we need from you in a quick, timely manner, so that way we can keep the process moving along.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, just as a concept here, speed is absolutely more important than anything else. So being responsive, when somebody applies, what happens at a typical organization, if you hear from that organization in 2 weeks, that's huge. Okay? That's huge. Normally it takes longer than that. Normally you hear nothing. So the fact that we turn these around in about 24 hours, and I say when that exceptional person comes through and I give you the feedback, fast track this person, call them today. Call them now. This person's in the top 1%. You know, that basically says move on them with urgency, because you don't want that person to go anywhere else. You want to get that person in as quickly as possible. So that's why it's and it's equally as important to fire a person quickly. Hire fast, fire fast, which is not the typical mentality that most coaches and consultants give you. So
if they're a talented person, the chances of that they've already put out other applications out there.
Absolutely. So I think, though, just to give everybody an idea, you and I have spoken on the phone twice. When you signed up and 15 minutes before last week when we had doing a little pre-prep for this call. Is that true?
Right.
So that's how much time we've actually spent on the phone. And then in terms of email, I typically copy you in on, fast track or pass. So, there's probably been a couple hundred emails maybe but that's the amount of time that it takes for you in terms of you interacting with me. So,
oh yeah, the time that we talk isn't a lot, but it was more than I expected from a sense of, again, I thought interviewing, hiring was hard.
right.
That once I found out that it was easy because the quickness, it's made it easier.
Well, for those people that are listening, interviewing is hard. It is frustrating. It is time intensive. It is something that's kind of the bane of people's existence, with a caveat. If you do not use a time-tested, scientifically proven and validated system, and that's what this is. We measure so many different things, 69 pages of data on whether or not the person is a good fit for the specific job. So now what I'd also like to mention is that about 75% of my client base are Keller Williams brand.
Wow.
And oftentimes what's happening is we're merging what I provide on the front end, which is allowing to open the floodgates and provide more candidates to be able to apply, assess them, to make sure that the people that you actually have in front of you are a high caliber of individual. It's just a matter of whether or not they fit your culture and whether or not you have a good feeling about them, right? Exactly. And then everything that you're doing on the back end of that interview, as it relates to all of the types of in-depth questions that you ask, the reference checks and things that you take place that are all part of the recruit select process, is really a 1-2 incredibly powerful combination.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is the best process out there.
Okay. Well, fabulous. Let me ask you this. For those of your peers, and I know you have a lot of them, who may be kind of on the fence, they're struggling, maybe they're exactly where you were a year and a half ago, where they just tired of interviewing and didn't want to go through the headache of doing it. What would you say to them in terms of the benefits that you've received over the last year and a half, where your company is today? What would you say in terms of the financial viability, the benefit, the value of participating in this type of an endeavor?
I would say that they have two options. Number one is they can keep trying to do everything themselves, keep pounding away, putting in time, or they can work with you and your organization and get back time and freedom and peace of mind, knowing that your business is going to grow, and it's going to grow on a big scale because you're bringing around talented people that you would probably pass over because you don't understand how to look at a profile, you don't understand what you need to see. I would tell them that they at least owe it to themselves and their family to get involved with you, get involved with the process that you have created to grow their company. I was a little skeptical at first. Again, hiring's hard, interviewing's hard, so I was very skeptical at first. Once I made a couple of great hires, I saw that it makes a big difference. I mean, we've got one ISA, as I talked about earlier, he set 22 appointments in 1 week, and I mean, he thinks that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, he's a talented enough guy that I could see him, as we expand into other towns and other states, I could see him running an entire ISA division of 20 ISAs. I mean, he's just really that great that I may have actually passed over.
Right.
Pretty scary whenever I really think about it.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Terrific. So what do you think would be maybe some of the biggest ahas or learning points or transformational things that you've learned in this whole hiring, interviewing, screening, onboarding process?
To quit trusting my instincts up front, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um, some of the biggest ahas is that talent comes to you from places that you wouldn't expect. To be open-minded to that, um, that's been huge for me. Is just talent has came from places that I would have never been looking. I wouldn't have put energy in there, and now that I have them, it's like, wow. I mean, it's interesting to see where talent can come to you from. That's a big aha.
Right.
The other aha is that hiring can be fun once you start to talk to people who are talent. And I think everybody's got talent in their own right. I think it's important that you define what you're looking for and what talent looks like to you.
Right.
We heard at a class whenever we attended Recruit Select last month, the trainer had said something that really stuck with me, and we now actually put it into our process. Um, he said, I'm looking for somebody that hates to lose more than they like to win.
Mm.
And that's really big for me because one of my core values is competition. I like people who are competitive and want to win. But
Sure.
it's interesting, I want people who hates to lose more than they like to win.
Elaborating a little bit more. So don't rely on your gut instinct, and talent can come from a lot of different places that you really didn't think, perhaps that were viable.
Sure.
Uh, I'd say over my career, one of the things that I fight day in and day out is the fact that most people say that somebody has to have industry experience.
Sure.
And they're so caught up and hung up on industry experience that they miss out on untold financial payback and blessings because they have that, they're looking at the world through a straw, so to speak.
They have on the blinders. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Just prior to us going live, you were mentioning the two people that you have had them go through the process with a couple of interviews. Would you mind kind of restating for everybody what that process has been, how fun that process has been, what the whole attitude, demeanor, everything has been, and also how demanding they have been in a positive way, in the demanding in a positive way?
Very positive. Well, the process is we're obviously looking for talent everywhere. We're looking for them by talking to our current customers, um, anywhere and everywhere that we can. Once we get the profile, we send it over to you. You recommend talking to them. We take them through the Recruit Select process, a couple of interviews, the ABA. It's really interesting to sit and talk to these people who are just the best of the best, the talented, how congruent and how on track the interview is. And I'd probably talked with 10 or 12 people and actually taken them through the Recruit Select process, and it never made sense to me. Once we found somebody who was great and the process really fit and was congruent is the word that I keep going right to because it just all fit.
Right.
It was interesting. Whenever I offered them both a job, they said, "No, we need more." And I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, we're worth more." And I thought, "Okay, wow, I never had anybody tell me that." And so instantly, I thought, well, they're confident enough in the value that they bring, they're probably worth more.
Gotcha.
Because the people who aren't, whenever you offer them a job, they're the ones who they don't actually call you back.
Right. Okay.
So
Now, nothing is 100%. So you talked about the fact that some of these people have not worked out. So what did you find that can help everybody else that's listening? What are some of the things that you learned as to some of the reasons that some of these people didn't work out? Obviously, you hired somebody that I said pass on, and of course that person wasn't the right fit. But talk to us a little bit about reference checks and any other things that you learned around vetting the person after they left the building.
I would say past performance is a great indicator, and that you want to be looking for opportunities where they really shined and they was in a different organization, company, industry, whatever, where they really crushed it. And they made a difference in that organization. So one of the things that we really look for now is past performance. And you get a lot of that by calling references. I think that's the part of it that's the most time consuming.
Right.
Hours and call after call. But it's the part of the process, I feel, where it's the opportunity for the candidates to be validated and the information to be correct.
Sure.
And if you ask the right questions, I think you can get the person's track record and know the likelihood of them performing in your company.
Right. So what kind of makes this a little bit more challenging and very difficult from the standpoint of someone myself that's looked at tens of thousands of resumes and continues to look at them, is that most people don't know how to write a good resume. So we may assess them and they come back as just a phenomenal set of results. But their resume is so bland, so generic, so plain. There's no accomplishments listed. There's nothing compelling about the resume whatsoever. They don't know any better. They don't know that if you're, in sales, and it should be intuitive, that you need to quantify what your percentage increase was over the last 5 years. That you need to say where you rank compared to everybody else on the team, right? When you list those things on a resume, that's going to give an employer, a business owner, more confidence that you're bringing in the right person because of the level of achievement. But sadly, what happens is the vast majority of people aren't trained on how to write a resume. They don't know any better. So a resume is virtually useless. In fact, either overstates their ability if they had some professional help with it, or it understates possibly what they're capable of as well. So that's why, again, using some type of non-biased, scientific, statistically proven method is really an absolute must. And I know you use the word DISC. We use DISC, but we also use 2 other components. DISC is a great tool, but it's very one-dimensional. It's only personality style. It's only your behavior. And people are a lot more complex than just your personality style. So we use a very comprehensive battery of assessments that give us a complete picture. Okay, Josh. Well, talk to me a little bit about I guess you did allude to this about, opening up other offices, moving into different states, different markets. What's your vision now that you have this missing piece of the puzzle as it relates to being able to hire great people?
Oh, I'm telling you what, it's the most exciting piece of the whole puzzle, because before I felt, gosh, everybody's talking about expansion and bringing expansion teams to other towns and states, and I thought there's no way that I could spend 15 years plugging away, hiring and failing and all that. Again, now with your help, I feel like we could expand and go into other towns, states quite easily, or easier than we could have, because, again, we can go in and look at the best of the best and expand. So our vision is to expand into 20 towns or states in the next 10 years.
Wow.
And do 5,000 sales a year and have each expansion team be doing 250 to 500 home sales per year.
Wow, how exciting is that?
Oh yeah, it's more of a reality now because we're aligned with you and what you really bring.
Right. So I guess another way of saying this, what would you say the chances of you being able to realize that vision, or even to go after that vision with confidence as a result of what your prior experience was before we kind of implemented the things that I bring to the table with you?
100%. I mean, it's just, it, I feel like it's a 100% certainty that we can hit that mark, the vision, the benchmark, because we now have the opportunity to really pinpoint only talent.
Gotcha.
If that answers your question.
Josh, any parting comments or thoughts or observations that you want to leave everyone that's listening? Talk to your peer business owner.
I would say one of the things that's important is to really define what talent looks like to you, know your core values, and know who you are. That way you can hire to your core values. One of the things that I've picked up over the years is that it's not that the people are bad or great or not. It's just that we aren't a core value alignment.
Right.
And so for me, as I continue to discover my core values more and more, and I really understand them, it's interesting the people that I work well with and the people who we have to work at it.
Mm.
Takes a lot more energy, a lot more time and effort. The people who were aligned, I mean, it's a lot easier, and we don't have to put in as much energy and effort, and we go further, we go faster.
Right.
So know your core values, know what talent looks like to you, hire to your core values, and have a really clear description of a talented person. And also attend recruit select. I mean, I think it's the other key component.
And for those of you that are listening, Recruit Select is only available if you are part of the Keller Williams family. It is not available for people that are not in the Keller Williams family. You cannot attend the program.
Sorry.
But no, that's okay. I just wanted to clarify. No, that's cool. It's a fantastic program, and it provides you with tremendous tools as it relates into the interview and the process. Once you have that good person, right, in terms of vetting them out. But It's just, again, that's something that's part of the Keller Williams brand that they bring exclusively to you. They don't share that with your competition.
Right. Well, and there's other ways, there's other opportunities out there. It just happens to be one of the Keller Williams opportunities that we use. So. Right.
Well, Josh, I want to say that I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for your vision, for following up on some of your peers' recommendation. And now that you're on the other side of it, I know that you have sung the, it's like a no-brainer now. You wish you had kind of discovered it earlier.
Well, sure.
And I just got to say, as a business owner myself, it's incredibly rewarding intrinsically for me to be a part of your success and clients like you who have this vision. And really the missing piece is cracking that human capital component of how to get the right talent, the right person in the right place at the right time, and literally transform your business and achieve numbers, right, that you didn't ever think were possible. And just in a year and a half, just look at the things that you've been able to do financially, and then your vision, which I've just heard for the first time now, is absolutely awesome. So I look forward to being part of building that out with you. That's going to be tremendous.
Well, I appreciate it, and you will definitely be a key component in how quickly we grow, how fast, all that. So yeah, I appreciate everything, the ease that you work with us, and the value that you really bring.
Well, thank you, Josh. It's not a matter of if you're going to crack the top 100 this year. It's what will that number be with the great people that you're bringing on board. So thank you again. Allison, thank you for hosting. Do we have any questions, Allison, that anybody has asked throughout the process of us talking? Okay. Well, folks, again, this is one of my favorite times when we are able to highlight the leadership and success of a client who has big aspirations in terms of an entrepreneur and as an owner, and are able to make those dreams more of a reality because of all of the exceptional things that they have been put in place in addition to the human capital component. So thanks, and we'll see you next month. Third Tuesday of the month, always at noon hour. We're signing off here, and take care. The best to everyone. Bye now.